that were mailed to owners within 200 feet? Was there anybody even within 200 feet? Wasn't those placed in the newspaper? I saw it in the newspaper. Oral statement by Terry Duffy, zoning issue and the procedures. Go ahead.
Well, I guess the issue is he wants to build a building larger than 40 by 40. We don't allow that without going through the special exemption process and fix that process.
I thought he already had a building permit for a 40 by 50.
He was issued a building permit for 40 by 50.
Okay.
He thought it was for 40 by 60.
Okay.
He started in, the forms were up.
Then why are we concerned about the 40 by 40 at this point in time? We had a building permit for about 40 by 50, right?
Right. And he thought it was 40 by 60.
Okay. Okay.
So I went and stopped him, non-conforming structure.
Okay.
For him to proceed any further, he has to come in front of the Board of Adjustments to proceed any further.
Right. Why do we have jurisdiction over this thing?
Why?
Yeah. I mean, he's had a building permit for 40 by 50. If you said he needed a building, if he said we needed adjustment on a building for 40 by 40, why wasn't he here before?
That wasn't...
We can't answer that question. All we were able to do
That was before us.
research the fact that he was given a permit for a 40 by 50 situation.
Okay.
And that the building was not being built to a 40 by 50 specification as the permit required. So the alternative is if he wanted to choose to continue to build to a 40 by 60 base, he would have to come before this group in order to receive an adjustment for an allowance to do a 40 by 60 building.
Now, Kurt, what's your...
My whole thing was when I applied for the building permit, it was last April,
Yeah.
when Jeff was here.
Yeah.
It was for my house at the time. And I told him I might be putting an accessory building on. And he says, well, you should put it on the same building permit. So I did that. Well, I'd never had a copy of it because the original copy, the one and only copy, stays at the city office. And so I called Terry this spring and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting that building. Do I need to get a different permit? And he says, no. I heard first he says, well, let me check into it. So he checked into it and comes back and says, no, you should be good to go ahead and build the building. We never talked size. I really thought I had put it down as 40 by 60 last spring, but that was a year ago. I've had 30 other buildings in my head between now and then, and honest mistake, I guess. So that's why I'm here.
So the building permit that he does have says 40 by 50.
Yes. You have a copy.
Anybody? Jim?
I don't see any objectors here to have the extra 10 foot. That's what you're asking for, that 10 foot.
Pretty much, yep. But yeah, it is.
Is there any objections to this?
My only objection is that there is zoning laws out there. There are zoning rules. First of all, the zoning rule was missed when it was 40 by 40. And then we know that after going through the zoning rules, there are a lot of rules that when they did this new zoning law, that you couldn't build anything in Sac City right at this time on a 50-foot lot, more than 16 foot wide. So, especially if it's on a corner lot. So, you know, I guess I don't want to set a precedence here and have somebody else come back to me because I was reading your statement about, well, there's other 40 by 60s around. Well, we could smoke in the restaurants too 2 months ago, you know. And when I was a kid with speed limit, there wasn't any during the day. But today is today. So I guess I don't know if we have to go back and make sure that we pick it up and say we're actually granting him a variance from 40 by 40 to 40 by 60 if we do that. Because I don't want to come back and somebody say, well, how did this ever get to the point where at the time that the ordinance was written, the time when he got his permit, he should have, Jeff was here, that's true. We can't think about what Jeff was thinking or what he was doing, you know. But I guess my question is, if we're going to do it, then we should do it as the way it should have been done in the first place.
How's that?
So grant him a 20, go from 40 by 40, because legally he could only build a 40 by 40. He was given a building permit for that, but he did not come in front of the board.
Right.
So what do we do at that point? Do we just let it go, or do we, if we're going to grant it, say, we're going to grant you a 20-foot variance from whatever is legal?
I guess if you're going to grant him a variance to build a 40 by 60,
Okay.
as he's asking.
Okay,
He's went through all the procedure,
okay,
and to my knowledge, nobody's against it in the
I
neighborhood.
did have something to say,
Yeah,
because I did talk to two of the other people that it has some variance to. And I believe the city should encourage growth and progress when it can, but I also think rules and laws should be respected and followed by citizens. And since this is a growing residential district, is how we're trying to make it, I really think it should be enforced.
well, this is my concern too, but it's already been, the cat was already let out of the bag when they already let him go 40 by 50. And to me, you've got a building permit by 40 by 50. The 10 extra foot you could fence in and use it as your outside storage area if you had to. I asked Terry, and I don't know if he looked into it, I said, could you later come back and build a lean-to on that and put over the top of that later after the fact? And I don't think, if there's anything in zoning, if there's anything in the building that allows that.
Just says private garages larger than 40 by 40 have to be.
Yeah.
The only other thing I have to say is, as far as a building residential community, I own all the ground within 200 to 300 feet of anybody around there. So as far as the house laying right next to it, I guess I have control over that.
But you're still in the city, of Sac City.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but I'm going from Maybeth's comment as
Yeah.
far as having a residential community and encouraging growth in the community. I've tried to do that already up there. I mean,
Yeah,
brought another 2 houses to Sac
I understand.
that we didn't have here 2 years ago.
My concern is this. You come before me again in 2 years and you say, oh, made a mistake, or this too big. Or somebody else comes and says, guess what, I had a building permit for 40 by 40, but gee, I poured this pad 40 by 50. I don't want that precedent set at this time. It's already been, that's what I'm saying, we're already past the point of 40 by 40 anyway. So it's up to, I guess it's up to the people here to decide, and I don't know, I have not seen a picture of it. What are we talking for size? How tall a building?
12 foot.
12 foot. So it's not gonna,
The one thing that you guys say, going back to foot, he's already got the footings in.
that's
I know
besides
this
the
doesn't
point.
matter, but you guys sit there and say you can shorten up 10 feet. It's pretty tough to do when the foundation's already there. And then you gotta shut down this late in the project,
That's not our problem.
I understand that's not your
But
problem.
I'm just
Yeah,
suggesting
yeah.
that, telling you that it's
I
pretty hard.
understand
You were
that.
saying something about shrinking it up. It's pretty
Yeah.
tough to do at this point without going in and cutting all the foundation out and trying to, basically might as well level half the thing and be done with it. And then in turn, there's a lot of money out the door.
Why is it gonna affect the, depends on which way the building's going on.
Yeah, but 60 foot long, you guys want to short up to 50, well, you've got the foundation out here, you can't put a building on the freestanding or free-floating side, it's got to be on a frost footing. You can't shorten it up 10 feet.
I see what you're saying.
Now you see what I'm
don't have
saying? It'd be like
frost.
taking your
But did you
basement.
put a regular footing in there?
Yes,
How deep?
4 foot,
4
4
foot,
foot,
okay.
the walls are in.
I think what we have to allow, either allow or not allow the extra 10 foot. That's the only decision we have to make.
Yeah, but we also gotta consider the fact is that if it was just on a floating slab, that'd be a different story. But he's put footings in and he put frost footings in, that's a different story, because then he's at a point where he can't use that other 10 foot for anything, basically without putting something over the top of it. And I call that, that's another thing to consider on it.
Did you have any written objections?
No, we did not have any written objections. It's just the fact is, there's a zoning, there's a zoning law, and this is kind of a unique situation. Dave, anything?
No, I'm just listening.
You're just listening.
I'm just gonna sit and listen.
Well, I think we all know
Go
what
ahead.
we want to do
Yeah.
and not to do, and I think we might as well proceed. We're
Yes.
on to
Let's take a vote on it.
closure of the hearing, consider a petition.
Yeah?
You want a motion?
Does it fall within jurisdiction of it? Yes. All parties interested have been notified? Yes. The grant of the appeal has not affected the change in the intended zoning of the property? No, you have not we're not going to change the zoning of the property. The property cannot reasonably be used in conformity with the provisions of this ordinance. No, it cannot, because of the way, like you say, putting the slab as far as using it in conformity. I was going to say, otherwise, if you'd have put a floating slab, it'd have been either way on that. The difficulty complaint was not a result of a willful act, petition. I would say, I hope it wasn't a willful act.